2009 was a very tumultuous year for many fast-moving consumer goods industries, and alcoholic drinks could not be, of course, an exception. In that sense, it was a very difficult year, and it did end up with a slowdown for alcoholic drinks, and also it led to quite a lot of interesting trends and key findings that we found in this global briefing, and that we can go through very briefly together. One of the major and most important, of course, and much debated key trends that we found in 2009 was the trading downtrend. The biggest casualties of this trend was champagne and cognac, which we already see a small rebound during the beginning of 2010, but it's still a long way to go to reach 2008 levels. Another one was the ascent of the off-trade and the descent of the on-trade, as consumers, because of belt tightening, started going out less and started staying at home more. Another major trend, of course, was the world being separated in two completely different sides, the two sides of the same coin. So while the whole alcoholic drinks industry we can see as a big picture that proved to be resilient, more so than other industries, there's a massive difference between some regions like Eastern Europe, for instance, which kind of collapsed over 2009, and the very strong performance, even in this difficult context of regions like Asia Pacific or Africa and Middle East.
Alcoholic drinks were able to post positive volume growth in the Middle East and Africa. And there's two reasons for this. One being that the financial crisis, the effects of it were less pronounced in many countries in the Middle East and Africa. And the other reason was many product categories within alcoholic drinks were growing from a relatively low base, and so achieved high volume growth. With wine-producing countries such as South Africa, and to a far lesser degree Morocco and Algeria, wine's also doing quite well in the region, and posted a 2% volume growth. Growth of spirits in the Middle East and Africa took a slight dip, and largely because they retail at unit prices higher than, say, beer or wine. And as people were trying to cut back on expenditure, spirits was often the first category to go. Beer remains the most significant category in the Middle East and Africa, partly due to the popularity of stout in places like Nigeria, and also non-alcoholic beer in Iran and Saudi Arabia and other Islamic countries.
One of the good things about beer is that it provides the opportunity for people to trade down within the category. So in that sense, economy beer variants had quite a good year and to an extent counterbalanced the declines of the premium segments.
One of the most successful products in 2009, and I think it will continue to be over the next few years, was non-alcoholic beer. And it was very successful in the Middle East in particular, largely because some countries' sales of alcoholic drinks are illegal, say Iran or Saudi Arabia, and in other countries are often surrounded by sales constraints and cultural taboos. And so non-alcoholic beer has come up as quite a good alternative to alcoholic drinks and is therefore doing really well. It posted an 11% total volume growth in the region as a whole, and in Iran alone achieved 25% volume growth. And the category is doing really well in Iran and is developing very rapidly, partly boosted by a widespread advertising campaign that's positioned non-alcoholic beer as a healthy alternative to, say, cola carbonates or other carbonates, particularly targeting young adults.
It's the shift of focus to the Millennials, the generation around 30 up to 35, which manufacturers at the moment are trying to approach through new media campaigns and alternative advertising methods. And they have many hopes regarding this particular consumer segment, although it has to also be stressed that this is one of the segments that has been hammered more than any other segment in the population from the impact of the recession at the moment.